שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסחו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסחו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסחו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסחו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שיר לאדוני, שיר לאדוני, שיר לאדוני. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסחו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסחו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסחו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו
Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Mordechai Yosef of Izbeka underscores the lesson for our lives and brings the essence of our coming together this Shabbat morning to light. In the building of the tabernacle, all Israel was joined in heart. No one felt superior to his fellow. At first, each skilled individual did his own part, and it seemed to each one that his work was extraordinary, unique. Yet afterwards, they saw how their varying contributions were integrated, how all the boards and the sockets, the loops and the curtains, the gold and crimson, all fit together as if one person had done it all. Then they realized how each of them had depended upon the other. Then they understood that what they had accomplished was not by virtue of their own skill alone. They were joined in making the master plan come true. Moreover, the one who made the holy ark itself was unable to feel superior to the one who had only made the courtyard tent pegs. So it is with us this Shabbat morning, each individual having walked through the doors of our sacred sanctuary or intentionally turned our services on to your screens. It is an essential piece to our Shabbat celebration. Every single person is important in their own right and has a role in making the mood of our worship just right, and also support our bar mitzvah, Isaac Nicholas Gelfond. This morning, he will be leading us in that Mishkan tabernacle making, that building, but he and we need your help. So join us in our blessed building project. In order to do this, put your thoughts away of the outside world. Turn off your cell phones and do your part by sharing in congregational readings, in every song or melody, whether you know it completely or not. In hearing Isaac as he shares his Torah truth, in silent seeking and meditation, in blessing, song, and spirit. Each of us has a part to play in making the Shabbat special, in creating sacred space from which we all benefit when we celebrate Shabbat as one community. As a reminder of this community covenant of Temple Beth-El, all people are encouraged, required to wear masks. If you need a mask, you can find some at this front table. Also at this front table, you'll find our order of service, which will allow you to follow along when Isaac reads Torah. So if you did not grab one on your way in, feel free to go to the little table and grab either the order of service or masks, which are required. We begin our service with Elohai Neshama Shanatata Bi, my God, the soul you have given me is pure, page 78.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata Bi, Tehorai. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata Bi, Tehorai. Ata verata, ata yetzarta, ata nefachta bi, ve'ata meshamra b'kirbi. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata Bi, Tehorai.
On page 83, we read responsively as we recognize Nisim B'chol Yom, our daily miracles. As I awaken, let this be my thought. May my day be filled with acts of loving kindness. Let me be drawn to learning and discernment, and may my actions be shaped by mitzvot.
Keep me from iniquity, disgrace, and sin. May I not be overwhelmed by temptation or despair.
Distance me from evil people and false friends. Let me cultivate a life of goodness.
May my hands reach out in kindness, and I will serve God through acts of righteousness.
Today and every day, may I merit your mercy by living my life with compassion and love.
Holy One of blessing, draw me to your words. Teach me the art of sacred living.
Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. We rise for the Chatzi Kaddish on page 106 and remain standing through Shema.
Yitkadav, yitkadash, shemei rabba, amen. Be'amad yivrach erutev, yamnich malchutev. B'chayachon v'yamechon v'chayerecho beit Yisrael. Ba'agalo v'zeman kariv, v'yimeru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach, le'olam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitbar v'yitramon v'yitnaseh, v'yitador v'yitalev v'yitala, shemei kodesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol bechata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiron be'olema, v'yimeru, amen.
As we turn to page 108 for the Baruch Hu, it is my pleasure to call forward our bar mitzvah, Isaac Nicholas Gelfon, to lead us in the next section of our worship.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. We continue on page 110. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam Yotzer or uvarei choshe Oseh shalom uvarei et hakol Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim alecha barachamim Uv tuvo b'chadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai Kulam b'chochma asita mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha V'al me'arei or she'asita yifa'arucha sela Or chadash al tzion ta'ir V'nizkechu lanu mehara le'orot Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer ha'me'orot. We continue on page 113. Once or twice in a lifetime, a man or woman may choose a radical leaving, having heard lech lecha, go forth. God disturbs us toward our destiny by hard events, and by freedom's now urgent voice, which explode and confirm who we are. We don't like leaving, but God likes becoming. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevar be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. We continue on page 114. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. We continue together on page 116. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantan levanecha v'dibarta bam beshivtecha beveitecha uvleshtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uvkumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, ואתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen. We continue on the top of page 121. Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame. Stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. Truth and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established, now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we will sing out and rejoice. We continue with the Amidah on page 124. Please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivkah, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanyorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh HaKol, V'Zocher Hasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'Nechem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hoser U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Zion Avraham, V'Izrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh kol atah rav levoshia, morid hatah, mechalkel hayim behesed, mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim v'rochech olim, yatir hasurim, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצהיר ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב ביד נביאך, וקרא זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו, אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. We continue on page 132 with the Yismechu.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. מקדשי שבי שבת, כולם ישמעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. והשיר רצית בו וקידשת שבת, חמדת ימין אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקורא עונג שבת.
We continue on page 137. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you. In this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our life and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, and for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live you affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulehan na'el lehodot.
Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova veracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova veracha. Ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova veracha.
Together, grant peace, goodness, and blessing, grace, kindness, and mercy to us and to all your people Israel. Bless us, our Creator, all of us together, through the light of your presence, truly through the light of your presence, Adonai our God. You gave us a Torah of life, the love of kindness, justice, and blessing, mercy, life, and peace. May you see fit to bless your people Israel at all times, at every hour, with your peace. Are you Adonai? Fill your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael ba'shalom.
Having prayed for peace in the world, we think of those who face the future not fully whole, those who are in need of healing of mind, of body, and of spirit. We think of them as we whisper their names aloud now. The words to Misha Barach can be found on page 253.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We take a moment now for our own silent prayers.
Ose shalom bimromav, uya ase shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael, ve'imru, imeru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael, Ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our service for the reading of Torah, page 245. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God. As we prepare to open the ark and take out our sacred scroll, I call upon the generations of Isaac's family to join us in front of the ark to stand in the chain of tradition. Next to Isaac, I invite up his parents, Jonathan and Cheryl, and then his grandfather, Stephen. And to open the ark, I invite up his aunt, Rebecca Gelfond, and his uncle, Jonah Erlebacher. And I invite everyone to please rise.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, ve'en k'ma'asecha. Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, omer mashaltecha bechol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai oz le'amo yitin, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom.
Torah tzivalanu Moshe Morashat Kehilat Yaakov. Isaac, this is the Torah given to Moses by God, the inheritance of the congregation of Israel. At Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the gift of Torah to share with the people of Israel. In his time, Moses handed Torah down to Joshua. Joshua, too, in his time, passed the Torah down to the elders. The elders passed Torah down to the men of the great assembly. They passed Torah down to the rabbis who spent their lives making modern meaning of the sacred traditions found in the Torah, so that we, standing here today, more than 2,000 years after the age of the rabbis, are able to claim Torah as our heritage and pass Torah down to you, Isaac. We use this scroll for the chain of tradition because it is from a 19th century Czechoslovakian community that was destroyed during the Holocaust. Around the US congregations use scrolls from similar communities to keep their spirit alive. And so by handing Torah down to you this day, Isaac, we remain confident the light of Judaism continues on. So Torah goes midor lador, from generation to generation.
And this scroll is the secret. And this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. L'amo Yisrael, b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Okay.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadlul Adonai iti, unramem Shemo yachtav. Lecha Adonai hagedula, v'hagvura, v'hatiferet, v'hanetzach, v'hahod. Ki chov hashamayim u'va'aretz, ki chov hashamayim u'va'aretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, v'mitnoseh lechol erosh. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid God lecha. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid God lecha. Ulenetzach netzachim, kedushatecha nakdish, kedushatecha nakdish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush, leolam, leolam va'ed. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid God lecha. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid God lecha. Ulenetzach netzachim, kedushatecha nakdish, kedushatecha nakdish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush, leolam, leolam va'ed. You may be seated. I guess I don't need this, right? I'm usually standing up here, so I get to put all this stuff in order while they're marching around. This week we read from Parshat Devarim, meaning words. The Israelites stand ready to enter the land of Canaan, and Moses begins to recount the events of Israel's journey from Sinai to the Promised Land. He includes the fact that he needed to create a system of tribal chiefs for governing because they had grown too numerous for him to administrate. Moses continues describing the Israelites' behavior on their journey to Canaan. Isaac is going to read from Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 9 through 15. And it's my pleasure to call him forward. Also, if you have the order of service, you can follow along in the Hebrew with him. Isaac? So before you do the blessing, hold on. Ya'amod Yitzchak ben Yonatan, habachor habar mitzvah.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam ba'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natad lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Va'omar alechem ba'et hahi lemor lo ochal levadi se'et etchem Adonai Eloi chem avotechem yos etchem vehinchem hayom kechochvei hashamayim laro Adonai Elohei avotechem Yosef alechem kachem elef pe'amim vivarech etchem ka'asher diber lachem Eicha esah levadi tarchachem umasa'echem rivchem havu lachem anashim chachamim unevunim viduim lashivtechem va'asimem barashechem va'ta'anu oti va'tomru tov hadavar asher dibarta la'asot va'eten ot et ekach et rashi an shivtechem anashim chachamim unevunim vidu va'eten otam rashi as alechem sarei alafim v'sarei meot v'sarei as chamishim v'sarei as asarot v'shotrim l'shivtechem. Thereupon I said to you, I cannot bear the burden of you by myself. The Eternal, your God, has multiplied you until you are today as numerous as the stars in the sky. May the Eternal, God of your ancestors, increase your number 1,000-fold and bless you as he promised you. How can I bear the unaided trouble of you and the burden and the bickering? Pick from each of your tribes persons who are wise, discerning, and experienced, and I will appoint them as your heads. You answered me and said, what you propose to do is good. So I took your tribal leaders, wise and experienced men, and appointed them heads over you, chiefs of thousands, chiefs of hundreds, chiefs of 50s, and chiefs of 10s, and officials for your tribes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. This concludes our reading of Torah for this Shabbat. It's a pleasure to invite Alexander, who's going to address the Torah, and Jonathan will lift the Torah. Please rise. Vezot haTorah shesa Moshe v'nei Yisrael al pi
In my Torah portion, Devarim, Moses begins his last words of instruction to the children of Israel, beginning with recounting the journey. The people urge Moses to send spies to scout the land of Israel. Then Moses reviews the people's reactions to the spies. The doubtful people said that attempts to conquer the land of Israel would fail. The only spy to bring back a positive report was Joshua. Moses then recalls that the Israelite warriors who left Egypt died. God intended for the people to continue their wandering and overtake their enemies. Lastly, Moses says that the land of Israel is for the Israelite tribes. The verses I read focused on how Moses was struggling to deal with the arguments of the people. If not settled, these disputes threaten the peace and togetherness of society. Moses created a system of judges with levels of authority. This is similar to how cases in our court system can be taken to the Supreme Court. Moses didn't just tell them to appoint judges. He gave instructions on how these judges should hear arguments. I wondered what it meant to be a good judge. Good judgment means being both wise and unbiased or giving fair treatment to both sides. Another important feature is that all parties must be present while hearing a case. I think this promotes fairness. A commentator focused on fair judgment was Rabbi Hanina, who built an academy during the 2nd century in Israel. Rabbi Hanina thought everyone should be present because it helps the judge separate opinion from fact and see whether there is agreement or disagreement about the objective facts. Similarly, in the United States of America, we have the right to plead our case and to question our accusers. But we should not take this fairness for granted because it doesn't always work and we must find ways to continuously improve. We only have to look back to the past to see how our system has failed. That is, we need someone to judge the judges. In order for our system to hear people, they must be given a chance to have a voice. Yet some people's voices were not heard as loudly as others. An example of this was the Radium Girls lawsuit. During World War II, watch painters, also known as radium girls, used radioactive paint that caused radium poisoning. They sued U.S. Radium Company, but in court they were not listened to because of their gender. The powerful have unfairly louder voices than others, but we can counteract this by learning to listen to people who may have softer voices and giving strength to people who need to find their voice. Becoming a bar mitzvah is important to me because I will now be a mature Jew. Being a mature Jew means I will feel more mature in society and other places. It means I will be more trusted overall in life. I would like to thank my dad for guiding me on the way to becoming a bar mitzvah. I would also like to thank Rabbi Jürgen, Rabbi Nathan, Cantor Berlin, and Hagit for helping me complete my bar mitzvah. I would like to thank my mom and, of course, the cat, Remy, for their support every step of the way. Lastly, I would like to thank my sister Alex, who let me know this speech was way too long. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Wonderful. In our community, we do things a little bit different for our Haftarah. Jewish tradition teaches that the world stands on 3 things: Torah, Avodah, and Gimilut Chasadim: study, worship, and acts of loving kindness. Isaac has fulfilled the first 2 pillars, having led services so beautifully and just now reading and teaching Torah with his flair with humor in there. Isaac will now fulfill the 3rd pillar of Gimilut Chasadim. At Temple Beth-El, we don't read from the traditional Haftarah, but rather we ask our students to pick a prophetic text that speaks to them. These texts come from our building. Many are found on the stained glass windows in our sanctuary. These texts were chosen by the founders of Temple Beth-El, and they represent our congregational core values. So Isaac will lead the Haftarah blessings and then share his prophetic perspective.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avo uv'Yisrael amo uv'Nvi'echa emet b'tzedek. My Torah portion, Devarim, showed us the importance and promise of good judgment. But justice can be slow. When this happens, we can feel frustrated or maybe even powerless. For my prophetic text, I chose Amos 5:24. But let justice roll down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream, because it emphasizes proper judgment. Famously, this quote was used by Martin Luther King. It tells us that justice spreads everywhere. But like a stream, it comes from high up and starts very small. By high up, I mean from our emotions and feelings for others. By small, I mean it might start with a whisper of a feeling or small voice inside our heads. If these ideas go against the norm, it may be scary to say them out loud. Ideas are truly like water. They can give life, or if they are ignored, they may evaporate. A single person cannot overcome the powerful forces that push back against change, even if change means spreading justice to new parts of our societies. But what if we have the courage to listen and share these feelings and ideas? We can find others who have the same quiet stirring inside. We have to listen and change ourselves if we want to be more than self-righteous. These shared ideas grow stronger as small voices unify and become a larger voice, like the smaller streams that become a river. Yet we must not forget that as a group, this river of righteousness can be overly powerful or even violent. Sometimes it takes more strength and wisdom to be gentle than it would to use force. One of Dr. King's lessons was that patience and nonviolence are important for lasting changes. We may hope, though, with patience, courage, and a good plan, that our effort to improve judgments can, like a river, have the strength to slowly cut through the rock that may stand between us and a better world. For my mitzvah project, I worked at the food bank and Texas Diaper Bank. These organizations provide essentials for people in need. Unfortunately, some of those in need hesitate to ask for help because they fear our judgment. Our reading today tells us that good judgment requires patient listening and empathy. When we help strangers, we don't always know their stories. They may be suffering because they were misjudged. My work in these programs showed me that there are many who need a helping hand and few who need our judgment. Sometimes the best judgment is not to judge. Shabbat Shalom. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, tzura kol ha'alamim, tzadik bechol harorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'osech, hamdaber umkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, all ha'torah ve'all ha'avodah, ve'all ha'ne'ema hanvi'im, ve'all yom tam ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. all הקול אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך, ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך, בפי כל חי, תמיד ימלוך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Isaac, we are proud of you, especially proud of your effort and hard work towards preparing for today. We know how much you like unsolicited advice, so we only want to say we are thankful to have you as our son. We appreciate how you involved us in your mitzvah projects at the food and diaper banks. It was a blessing to work with you as a family to help others. We appreciate your sense of humor, like the time we were listening to 80s music in the car and you asked if it was from the 1980s or the 1880s.
We are also proud of your caring and compassion. When you first got your kitten, you weren't sure it was such a great idea, but you fed, played with, and trained him. Before you knew it, and with love in your heart, you watched the kitten becoming a cat and taking his first cautious steps outdoors. It is in the wilderness that he can reach his potential with silent grace as he chases things only he can see or hear. As you explore your life, we hope that you too reach your potential and keep spreading love and kindness into the world. Hug time.
We now return Torah to the Ark on page 256. I would like to invite Isaac's grandfather, Stephen Gelfond, and his uncle, Benjamin Gelfond, to open our Ark, and I invite the congregation to please rise.
It's chaim hi, l'machazikim ba, v'tomchea, me'ushar, terachea, tachenu, v'chon etivotea, Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh yameinu kekedem.
You may be seated, except for Isaac, who all he wants to do is sit. Come on. You don't have to do anything. You just have to stand here with me. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. All right, so tell me, how do you feel? Was that a good one or a bad one?
Good.
Good. I think you rocked it. And I am so proud of you and all that you have accomplished today. And you led our congregation in worship, song, and study with a steady and strong voice. That voice that you kept talking about was strong voice, both in your Devar Torah and in your prophetic perspective. With that strong voice, which is not typically what your voice is, right? You usually have a quieter voice. But today you stood up, you stood in front of that microphone, and you used that strong voice. It has been incredible to see the young man you've become, and I hope now that when you see me in the halls of Temple, you'll be able to say hi to me and not hide. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes, wonderful. You showed us today that you can come out of your shell, own all that hard work that you put in to make today happen. It felt really special to work with you on your Devar Torah, as you wanted to go so many different ways and talk about so many different things because you loved your text and you connected to it. Within your Devar Torah, what you decided you wanted to talk about was Rabbi Hanina's commentary on having all people present when a case is being heard so that the judge has all the facts possible. You then continued by explaining that the judges need to have checks and balances as well as fairness, because we need that fairness to be included. You gave a strong example with the Radium Girls lawsuit, which you taught me about, and other ways that our judicial system has not been fair in the past. Rabbi Moshe ben Chaim al-Sheikh, a 16th century rabbi and commentator, also spoke about this. He warns that a judge cannot be influenced by appearances either, that if someone is dressed nicer, as you are today, they shouldn't be favored right away. He continues that judges should not fear that their reputations will be weakened if, after hearing all the arguments, they decided to refer the dispute to others or to a higher authority. To admit one's inability to reach a fair, knowledgeable judgment is not a sign of weakness, but instead of strength. I think that you would agree with al-Sheikh that this is one of the ways that you hope that judges would be fair as well. To be sure, we have a lot of work to be done within our judicial system, but hearing you speak about it gives me hope, and I hope gives all of you hope. You, Isaac, are a strong, intelligent young man who can think deeply around many different subjects. Your focus and dedication only give me hope for the future, and while you may not be a judge yet, you have been able to apply these concepts to your own relationships with peers, family, and friends to not judge someone unfairly. When you look back at today, Isaac, I hope that you feel a huge sense of accomplishment, knowing that not only did you complete today, but you rocked it. I am extremely proud of you. And to highlight this moment, Cantor Berlin and I would like to offer you the priestly benediction in front of the ark, and we ask everyone to please rise.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God deal kindly with you and be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
Isaac, may God's presence shine upon you and grant you life's choicest blessings, health, happiness, lots of family love, and most of all, peace. And together we say, Amen. You may be seated, again, except for Isaac. I got to keep you on your toes, right? Now you did everything that you know, and now I got to surprise you a little bit.
do.
I know, I'm good at that, right? So we have a couple of gifts for you today, and I wanted to share them with you and explain to you what they are. So we start here with your certificate, because was this the fastest bar mitzvah you've ever been to?
Yeah.
Yes, right? So sometimes you're going to go back and be like, did that even happen? I have the pictures, I have the video, but it just went by in a blur. So we have this certificate to remind you that yes, indeed, it happened. And then we also give you a gift certificate to help get you on a trip to Israel, which when you complete confirmation, Temple Beth-El will match because we see the importance of that trip. From our sisterhood, we give you this Bible, this Tanakh, which has your name on it to take this text with you. It's the pocket edition. I don't know if your pockets are this big, but you can take it with you and continue to learn and to study from it. I know that you found so much joy in looking at the text. From our brotherhood, we give you this Kiddush cup and candlesticks to continue the Jewish rituals within your own life and your own home in the future, but with your family now. And from Yachad, our religious school parents group, we give you this tzedakah box so that you can continue helping the community. And I love that for your mitzvah project, you couldn't decide between two different places, so you helped them both and brought your family in, as they said, in their blessings so that they could be part of that experience with you. So I know you will put it to good use. We are now going to continue with our concluding portion of our service. I am going to invite up Isaac's Aunt Jennifer Turner and Uncle David Lamons to open our ark, and I invite the congregation to please rise. Aleinu is on page 283. You can go back and grab your book. Oh, yeah.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקי משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. As we turn to our memorial meditation on page 288, we note with sadness the death of Stephen Lang, husband of Christy Lang, father of Stephen Lang Jr. and Amy Lang, Ellen Lang and Nathan Lang and Leah Gershon, stepfather of Courtney and Benjamin Graham and Morgan and Nicholas Hull, grandfather of Emily, Alexandra, Ava, Isaac, Levi of blessed memory, Remy, Solomon, and Elizabeth. A meditation by Merritt Malloy. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Our thoughts turn now to those in our community and extended community who died at this time in years past. As we mark their yard sites, we remember them. Karen Almond, Lily Alterman, Shelley Altman, Nellie Ambrose, Bert Balbert, Arlene Burler, Dr. Wallace Bloom, Robert Burns, Ann Coben, Israel Cohen, Jean Croft, Catherine Hope Dankowski, Joseph M. Davis, Ann Callahan Dick, Eliza Fisher, Sharon Koo Forshban, Ruth Cohen Frisch, Mignon Gabay, Tenny Gans, Ruth L. Glasgow, Carrie Green, Morton Greenberg, Florence Gross, Saul Gross, Milton Guggenheim, Ann L. Hayes, Vera Hubaum, William Hyman, Peggy Kaplan Eisenberg, James Callison, Perry Pete Callison, Yale Kalmans, Leonard Carpel, Celia Marie Kaufman, Myrna Klein, Judith Crape, Madeline G. Landsman, Milton Lebo, Dr. Joseph Lehman, Dr. William Leon, Julia Lerner, Jacob Levine, Isidore Levinson, Victoria Levy, Judge William W. Lipset, Robert Livingston, Howard Miller, Sam Pearl, Jack Benjamin Pollock, Rolando Joseph Polson, Daniel Rafkin, Francis Rifkin, Louis Ricklin, George Ringel, Milton Earl Rabinowitz, Aaron Rodkin, Raquel Chayette Ronay, Ann Rosenblatt, Ruth Roth, Isaac Sack, Hyman Sachs, Ed Schieber, Herbert Serrata, Helen Schaff, Philip Scora, Henry Louis Solomonson Sr., Sam Strauss, Arthur Strelke, Isidore Arnold Victor, Rove H. Weil, Scott Wenzel, Marilyn Westheimer, Joanne Wygotsky, and Rhoda Zenar. To these names, we add those who've been buried in the past 30 days, whose families are in a mourning period of Shloshim. Remember Helene Ingram and Hadassah Langbaum. To all of these names, we add those which are in our hearts each and every day as we rise together as one community for Kaddish Yatom on page 294. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'mei almaya. Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha brichu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. Our closing song this Shabbat morning is Ein Keloheinu, which can be found on page 322. We will sing that song and then do Kiddush and Motzi, and I'm going to invite up Alexandra to join for Kiddush and Motzi.
Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadoneinu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adoneinu, Nodel Elokeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adoneinu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adoneinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
He's not sharing with anyone. Okay, Alex, come up. Okay, together.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. Shabbat shalom.
You can cut. I feel like I won't have to practice my Hebrew